Hey, Yinz guys and gals, gather round for a journey like no other. It's time to hop on board the Where Yinz Goin podcast. From the rivers that meet at the point to form downtown Pittsburgh, to the Great Salt Lake, to the furthest corners of the globe, Matt and Katie will be your compass, your confidants, your companions of that, as we explore the wonders of travel. So kick back, relax on your couch, and let the wanderlust wash over Yinz as we discover new horizons and reminisce about old favorites. With Matt and Katie by our side, the sky's the limit. Join Matt and Katie on the Where Yinz Goin podcast, because when it comes to travel, the journey's just getting started. And now, without further ado, let's give a shout for your guides through the highways and byways of travel, the planning partners, the travel tandem, Matt and Katie.
Hi, Yinz doing? Welcome to the Where Yinz Goin podcast. I'm Matt. I'm one of your hosts. Katie can't join us today. She was traveling all last week and she needs time to catch up and get back, resituated now that she's home. So, but joining me today again is Mandy, who we just heard from the past couple of weeks with her awesome trip on the Treasure. So welcome again, Mandy.
Thank you. Hi. And I have to say, I'm jealous of Katie always traveling. So that's awesome.
I'll say it's being a travel advisor. It's one of the, it's a tough job, but someone's got to do it. You got to travel to these wonderful places to experience them firsthand.
To let everybody know about them. Yep.
It's, the things we do for our clients,
Exactly. It's rough. It's a rough job.
So, but today we're going to take a little bit of an adventure and get the adrenaline pumping. We're going to talk about roller coasters, specifically the roller coasters that you will experience at Walt Disney World in Florida and Disneyland out in California. So, whenever I was younger, I was not a big roller coaster fan at all. So up until, maybe the age of 12, I did not really like them, and don't even try to get me on a roller coaster with a loop.
Really?
Yep, I did not like them. And I mean, growing up in Pittsburgh, we have a amusement park called Kennywood. It was called, this was back in the 80s, that they were called the roller coaster capital of the world.
Yes.
Back when we had the laser loop. And I could go on some of the other ones, they had some night, and they still have awesome classic wooden roller coasters.
The Thunderbolt,
the Jackrabbit, and the Racer.
Yep, I've been on them.
And so that's why me and Mandy and I get along so well. So
it is.
She's holding up her
my Steelers cup
there. Yep. And then they have the Steel Phantom, which is now the Phantom's Revenge. The Steel Phantom was better because it had loops in it. There's a Skyrocket, which is really weird. It's unique that it sits up really high, and so it's a unique perspective. You feel like you're gonna fall off the track. And then they have the new Steeler themed coaster.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's been years since I've been there.
Oh, I forget what it's called. Time to do a quick Google search. But it's been just a couple of years old, and it has had a lot of issues.
Oh,
the Steel Curtain roller coaster, that's it.
Oh, that's so perfect.
Oh yeah, it's an intense ride.
You stand up in that?
No, you don't, but it's intense.
Wow, it looks intense. I'm
gonna
have to take there.
Yeah, and actually, it was whenever I was about 12 years old that we took a trip from Pittsburgh we made a couple of stops on the way. That we went to Hershey, we went to Gettysburg, we eventually went to the beach in New Jersey. So your neck of the woods, Mandy, and it was in Hershey that I went on my first roller coaster that had a loop.
Oh my gosh! And did you love it or hate it?
And then I liked it. Now I will go on. Well, I don't mind going on roller coasters now. It's after I get off that there's sometimes issues.
Really?
Being old with like the vertigo and feeling a little lightheaded and stuff like that.
Okay.
That gets to me. But usually it's gone by the time I get on the next roller coaster, and then it starts to go. But time to recover.
Yes.
But I'll suffer to enjoy the roller coaster now.
I don't blame you.
I'll pretty much go on anything, so it doesn't bother me. And having a very adventurous little 5-year-old, she likes going on them too.
Yes, that helps.
So we'll see how that's going to go in the future with her. But we're going to talk about the Disney roller coasters, and starting with the Matterhorn bobsleds out in Disneyland Park. They opened on June 14th, 1959. So we're a little more than a month away of, was that 66 years that it's
That's
been there?
wild.
So, and it was the first tubular steel track roller coaster in the world. And just because it's Disney and they go all in with the theming, that on the building up front, it used to be the ticket booth, I believe, that they have shields on the building that have the crest that represent the different cantons of Switzerland.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's actually one that's changed. It's more of a Disney-fied one, but the rest of them are all accurate. And in probably about a year, we will be in Switzerland. So
that'll be amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We were going to try to get it done a little bit earlier, but then like this summer we were planning to go, but flight costs were just a little bit too high.
Okay.
And so we decided we'll just push it off. We'll try something else next year.
Yeah.
But that's been on my bucket list for a while, going to Switzerland.
That would be amazing. So not only you would get to experience it on the Matterhorn, but also in soaring around the world.
Yeah, you get to see it there as well. And there's, here's my, it's not, Rick Steves, the iconic travel guy he has a show on PBS, Rick Steves Travels.
Okay.
One of his Switzerland episodes, he talks about 100-mile hike around the Matterhorn, that there's these little huts like every 10 miles. And you can hike, hut to hut and do in like 10 days. And they actually have a truck that will take your baggage and all your luggage from hut to hut. So you don't have to actually carry it. So it's more like day hiking every day to a new location.
Wow. That's something I would do 100%.
Let's say, because I like hiking. I just like indoor plumbing and I don't have to carry everything because
I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Getting old. So yeah, my dad and I have hiked all throughout Yosemite National Park a couple of times.
Okay.
It's been almost 10 years since we were there the last time. I need to get back.
My husband wants to take us out there while my kids are still young, because my son's going to be 15 and wants to do the national parks like Yosemite, Yellowstone, everything out there.
Yeah, so we did a podcast episode last May on it with my dad, and I, and we're going to do a Yellowstone one coming up in a couple weeks too. So there you have something to listen to help build you up for it.
Yes.
So, but back on track, not that we ever get on any tangents here. The Matterhorn bobsleds have a height restriction of at least 42 inches. Speed is 27 miles an hour. There are actually two tracks. There's the Tomorrowland track and the Fantasyland track, because it kind of sits right on the border between the two lands in the park. One's on the right for Fantasyland, left-hand one is closer to Tomorrowland. Ride times are either 2 minutes and 7 seconds or 2 minutes and 26 seconds. It is actually the Matterhorn. So it's inside of a recreation of the Matterhorn, and it's 1/10 of the size of the actual Matterhorn.
I love that.
The one thing that I'm sad is gone is that the Disneyland Skyway, their little gondola ride, used to go right through it.
Oh, I remember. Yes.
They took that out years ago. Yeah.
There, I remember seeing pictures of it. That would have been awesome.
And after they took it out, they still had kind of the hole, and it was pretty neat that if you stood at a certain angle and you looked, you could see like a hidden Mickey formed by like the hole for the Matterhorn for the Skyway, and then two little like indentations. And probably the most iconic or urban legend things, it's not a legend, is that inside the Matterhorn there is a basketball court the cast members can use.
Yeah.
And the cast members who work there will sign the steel beams inside, kind of as a remembrance thing.
Yeah.
I remember that when I was in college. I lived in a fraternity house. So I joined a fraternity, lived in a house, and in the one closet, everyone who lived in that room signed their name.
Perfect.
And we were talking beforehand, Mandy said about seeing it on the Disney Plus, behind the attraction thing.
I think it is the behind the attraction, and they talk about the basketball court, and I think is it Bob Gurr that goes up there because he helped design the cars for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's up there playing basketball on the little court. So if you don't believe us,
Yeah, and
go.
I was thinking they have this full size NBA basketball court.
Yeah, it's not like that.
Okay, no, it's a portable hoop, and it
Yes.
has maybe about not even a half court. So
Yeah.
it's a basketball
Yeah.
hoop you can shoot on a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's for like a little garage court, if you will.
And years ago, they actually had cast members who would scale. Well, actually, I don't know if they would actually climb it. I know they were rappelled down from the top of the Matterhorn a couple times a day. So that was a little show that they would put on. That they like as they go up, they use forced perspective, of course, to make it look taller. And little trees up there. So, but I always thought that was just kind of weird. You have these full-grown men rappelling down the top, and just ruins all the perspective of it, the height of it.
Yeah, it would look really small.
Anyway, that'd be a pretty cool job too.
Definitely.
Being the repeller.
Disney.
And now the really nice thing about the Matterhorn bobsleds is they have a single rider line. So if you don't want to wait in the long line, or if you don't want to get a lightning lane for it, you can get a somewhat shorter wait by doing the single rider line, which I use that. Well, I use that as much as I possibly can. Now with a little 5-year-old, it's a little bit tougher, but before I was married and would go, or even when we got married, we would get more bang for our buck that way.
Absolutely. I have no problem with riding with other people if I can ride as many more times.
Yeah, and as my little girl is super, super social. So she'll talk to anybody. So this will be like the thing for her whenever she gets old enough to actually trust her.
I was going to say, Zoe, she's 8, but she started I think we single rode. She was, I know, I guess she was 7. But yeah, she doesn't mind it at all. She'll go talk to people.
Yeah. My little girl still can get a little bit skittish, so I like to be there with her on the rides. Even the one she loves. There's that little bit of nervousness that builds up. But another year or so, and she'll be right there with Zoe. She'll
be right there.
Hey, let's go. Yep. Hey, and she's everywhere we go. She'll meet someone. How old are you? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? And she
I love that age.
Doesn't even wait for an answer sometimes. She just keeps rapid firing these questions. Everything pops in her head.
Yep.
Now the one we're going to talk about later on with Expedition Everest has their famous Yeti, but the Matterhorn had the first Yeti encounter. And I believe there's actually 3 Yetis that you can go past on the attraction.
Oh.
They're in different locations. They're not quite as big and grand as the one on Expedition Everest.
Yeah.
But they're also about as functional as that one too. So we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that. We'll complain.
Yeah. And the really neat thing about this makes it unique is that you have a splashdown when you're done. It goes through like little water, and the roller coaster actually dips through and splashes a bit. You can get a little bit wet. It's not quite like a
like Tiana's
Bayou Adventure or anything like that.
Oh.
But if you watch some of the old Disney shows, like the Wonderful World of Color and things like that, where they highlight the park, that you see Walt Disney actually going on this roller coaster with some like dignitaries. It was like some heads of state. I think actually might have been the leader of Switzerland who actually came and rode it with them.
Gosh, I love that.
So yeah, things they don't really do nowadays.
No.
And so for a long time, that was the only roller coaster at Disneyland. And now the next one, though, they had plans for it back in the 60s, but they did not have the technology to do it. And they wanted a roller coaster in the dark. But they didn't have the computers to track where the cars were, so there was a safety issue. But mid-70s, with the awesome computing power that they had, basic computer that takes up the size of a room.
Oh, yeah.
They were able to create Space Mountain, which is unique in the fact that it was the first attraction that opened at Walt Disney World before it opened at Disneyland. So it opened in the Magic Kingdom on January 15th, 1975, and opened in Disneyland on May 27th, 1977. May 27th, by the way, is my mom's birthday. So happy birthday, Mom.
Well, happy birthday, Matt's mom, soon. And my son's May 28th, so that's cool.
Awesome. So height restriction in Magic Kingdom is 44 inches, and in Disneyland is only 40 inches. So my little girl wasn't tall enough when we were in Disneyland to do it, and she just got to do it this past year in Magic Kingdom.
Love it. Did she like it?
Oh yeah, she had a good time. Speed at Magic Kingdom is 27 miles per hour, and Disneyland is 32. Ride time in Magic Kingdom is 2.5 minutes, and in Disneyland is a little bit longer, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. But yeah, she had going through with the dark. She was a little bit disoriented, like, why can't we see and where are we going and stuff. But she sat between my wife and I. My wife was in front, I was in the back. So having that little bit of comfort of being able to sort of see mommy up front and me holding onto her shoulders in the back, so she knew that we were there, it's a bit reassuring. So,
which is a common theme. It cracks me up, since obviously if you haven't been on Space Mountain, you're sitting by yourself. It's a train car with 6 seats in it, but you're single. So there's like the 3-person rocket in the front with the 3-person rocket behind you, but you can't sit next to your kid. And I know a lot of parents have that thought of, oh my gosh, my child's going to fly off of Space Mountain. And I've seen so many pictures of, the ride, and the parents are just, have a death grip on their child. I'm like, they're not going to fall off. But yeah, I would love that.
The Imagineers have tested this. Now, the thing though is, in Walt Disney World, it's single file. In Disneyland, they still have 6 people in a car, but they sit in 3 rows, 2 by 2. So in Disneyland, you can sit next to your kid on it.
Yeah. And that's as a kid, that was my absolute hands down most favorite ride at Walt Disney World.
I remember we rope dropped it once. Oh, I was a teenager, 15, 18 years old. I forget which trip this was, but we were lined up, at the entrance to Tomorrowland, getting ready to go. And the cast member says, okay, everyone walk with me. And so we're walking along, and then someone made a break for it and started this mad dash sprint. And I looked, I was like, wait, no. And so I took off with my sister. We were second in line.
Oh, that's the best.
Which I'm surprised we didn't get kicked out for that. But right. Then we had to wait for my parents and my other sisters. Like, come on. We're like,
hurry up, we're here, and we are second in line, and we are getting on this ride right now.
Yeah, but then we had to let a bunch of people go past by the time they got to, like,
oh geez. I know that. I felt that disappointment. Yes.
Of course, my parents were being responsive. Like, they said to walk. I was like, but that guy did it.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I would have to say, is one of my all-time favorite queue lines of any ride. The music, everything in there just gets me. I think it's that like childhood, connection with it. But I could wait in that line all day long.
Plus the giant ball pit when you first walk in.
Yes, which I've always wanted to jump down into, but
And of course, they're spray painted, they're like gray and black, so it fits the theme.
It does. It's awesome.
The only thing that I don't like about that queue line is it's a bit dark. So, and especially whenever I was there, before I got married, whenever I would go on a single trip, I would always bring a book to read in line. And then, but on Space Mountain, I can't see the book. Can we turn the lights up a bit?
You got to get one of the book lights, Matt. Have your little,
Well, that was 10, 15, oh geez, almost 20 years ago doing that. So, but now I don't have that problem because I have a 5-year-old to watch after.
Yep.
But no matter if you're a Star Wars fan or not, I highly, highly recommend getting out to Disneyland at some point during May and June, whenever they do their Star Wars celebration, because Space Mountain turns into Hyperspace Mountain. So it's still the same track, the same ride, but it has a Star Wars overlay. And the way they do this is fabulous. This Hyperspace Mountain is my favorite attraction, possibly in Disney World, or in Disneyland at least.
Wow.
That they on the ceiling, they'll project things like a TIE fighter or a Imperial Star Destroyer going across in front of you, and you hear the comm chatter in your ears like you're in an X-Wing. It's like, watch your tail, Red 3. You got one coming up behind you. I see him, Red 7. And so it puts you again, being a huge Star Wars fan, it puts you into the movie, into the dogfights that you've seen so many times. And it's just, I've been waiting for this since I was a kid type feeling.
Right. Yes.
So, but it's very immersive and it's very, very well done. Even if you are not a Star Wars fan, it really puts you into that atmosphere. And so
Okay.
it is something I highly recommend for everybody.
Well, now I know when I'm going to visit Disneyland, definitely during those months.
Yeah. So it's definitely my favorite mountain in any Disney park.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Disney mountains, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad opened on September 2nd, 1979 in Disneyland, and then on November 15th, 1980 in Magic Kingdom. And it's the wildest ride in the wilderness. But that's
Oh,
kind of weird because there are no rides at Disney. They're all attractions.
oh, that's true. That's
So,
true.
but anyway,
But
well,
that's such an iconic statement. You know,
oh yeah.
you're in, the lap bar goes down, and then he says it, and love
Yeah,
that
the
ride.
wildest attraction in the wilderness just doesn't
Yeah,
have the
it
same
doesn't
ring.
have the same ring. It doesn't have the same ring.
And so the backstory on this, and actually, if you want to hear more of the backstory on this, you can listen to our episode on the Society of Explorers and Adventurers that we did. That there's a whole big thing tied in here with the owner of Big Thunder Mountain mine and everything. So you can listen to that and get all the full backstory. But basically, it's a mining town built on Native American land, and it is cursed. In Disneyland, it's based on Bryce Canyon, and there's an earthquake that destroys it. In Magic Kingdom, it's more Monument Valley, and it's a flood.
Oh,
Height restriction is 40 inches. Maximum speed is 36 miles an hour, and it's a 3.5 minute ride. So it's, you get your bang for your buck on this one.
you do. You do. When you look at all of the ride times, it's amazing how short they are.
Mm-hmm. Although when you're on it, you're flying, especially for some
Mhm.
of the faster ones. At least wind's not blowing through my hair too much anymore. But the thrill of it, it's I don't know if I'd want it to be longer. It's like, okay, I'm good. It's like
Especially
making a
Space, yeah,
sprint.
especially Space Mountain when you get older and you're back after being thrown around and turned. I'm always ready at that point for that one to end.
And that's why on Space Mountain, I like to sit in the back car because then you can sort of see a little bit of outline of the front car, moving left and right, so you can kind of prepare yourself. Okay, it's a right turn, it's a left
Yeah,
turn.
I can
Okay,
brace
we're
myself.
dropping.
Yeah, as a kid, it doesn't matter, but as you age, it's like, oh, I felt that.
Yeah. Although one of the really neat things, jumping back to Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom, is if Space Mountain is ever down,
Yes.
jump on the people mover.
Yes. It is
Because
so
I've done that before, and you get to go through and you get to see Space Mountain with the
long.
lights on.
Yep. It's so weird when you see it because yeah.
And it's a wild mouse roller coaster, is what it really is.
Yep.
That it just swivels back and forth a lot, but being in the dark, it adds that perfect little bit to it to make it unique. It makes you feel like you're going so much faster than the 27
Mhm.
to 32 miles an hour that you're going.
Yeah. And I'm one of the weirdos that has my hands up the entire time, even though my husband's always like, "You're gonna hit." I'm like, "No, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna hit." They make sure you can't hit.
I'm gonna say there are safety regulations that and that's the thing. You kind of see the outline of these steel girders that are whizzing by your head, and you're like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh!" But it's there have been NBA players who've ridden those and had their hands up, so they're prepared.
Right.
And now the one thing I like most about Big Thunder Mountain is that when you are going up the lift hills, you can see so many details of with Disneyland and Walt Disney World. That you're looking over, you can see the castle, and you can see Space Mountain, and you can look down on the rivers of America. Well, at least until it's gone. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I know. We'll have a memorial service for that later on.
Thank you. Thank you.
But looking over, you can see the train, the circling the park and everything. So it's the views. If you look
Mhm.
behind, you can see Tiana's, at least in Magic Kingdom. So I really, really like that.
Mhm. And like I think you've mentioned before on another it must have been one of the treasure podcasts we taught, or maybe it was the kids podcast. I think with what kids like the most, we talked about at night. If you get on Big Thunder during the fireworks, it is the most beautiful view because on those lift hills, it slows down and you can get the most beautiful pictures ever, with the fireworks over the mountains, with the castle. Love it.
So especially if you're there a couple nights, and if you do the fireworks and you can see everything on Main Street USA, another night, try Big Thunder Mountain. It takes a little bit of timing, but usually the wait times aren't too bad for that, later at night, because everyone wants to see the fireworks.
Yep, exactly.
And now they do have different, we mentioned the different themes for Big Thunder Mountain. It was meant for a reason. That it in Disneyland, since it fits in Frontier, both in Frontierland, but you can see, the way you see it and from different perspectives, you see it from different areas of the park. In Magic Kingdom, it's different areas, and especially because you can see it from Liberty Square and has to fit in with some other things, that they're a slightly different color and a little bit different theme just to make it fit in the area a little bit better. So it was done with a purpose.
Always. And what do you remember? Because I know when I was a kid, even through I think my teen years, when you would go up that one indoor lift hill, they would remember the rocks would have that fake moving, like they were going to fall in on you and collapse. And now they've obviously taken that away, but I don't remember when they did that at Walt Disney World.
Neither do I. We have to check whenever they did the
big refurbishment.
Different refurbishments, which they're doing another one right now.
I know, because it's closed.
Sadly.
It is.
But it's coming back bigger and better. Well, at least better. So
yeah, they're redoing the whole track, right? I
think so, yeah. It's you need that every so often. So it's a safety thing. I understand. It's just
it's
not
just
if you're going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'll be there in January before our cruise. I'm like, oh, they won't be open yet. That is I think that is the only ride at Disney World that I've ever gotten to have an on-stage exit. We broke down on one of the lift hills and they just couldn't get it going again. And I was like the only person not disappointed, because I got to get off, walk down the steps of the mountain, and then we actually went under through like the cast member area, and I got yelled at for videoing, of course. He was like, ma'am, please put your phone down. Please put your phone down.
That's pretty neat. I got the same thing in a backstage area once, that it was during the fireworks, that I was videoing the fireworks, and I had the camera just holding it like over my shoulder. I flipped the thing around so I could see it while filming backwards. Yes. And then we got to a certain point, I turned it around, and as soon as I turned it around, I got a cast member right there. So it's like, sir, please turn it off. I'm like, oh. And I looked over, she's like, yeah, it was me. I was like, no, because I looked around, I was like, no, I'm not mad at you. I'm apologizing for I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she was quick on that.
Yeah, they don't like the leakage of the behind the scenes areas that you're not supposed to see.
Yeah, the Main Street USA was all jammed up with people standing there, so they took us behind Main Street to get out closer to Town Square.
Oh, I've had that happen, and it always disappoints me, because I always say to myself, Walt would not have wanted this.
Well, now they've changed it. So this was okay. So if you're standing at the castle looking towards the front of the park, this was on the right-hand side that they took us back there.
Oh, and so I've been on both.
But now the left-hand side, they've redone it. So it is a nice little walkway that there's nothing back there that is because we were there. I don't know if it was this past visit or the one before, that whenever the fireworks started, my little girl does not like fireworks. Loud noises are not her thing. So we were making a hasty exit, and we got directed there, and it's a nice little paved area that it's like it's for guests to to look really nice, and it's not a backstage type area anymore. Wow. So I'm not sure if the other side. So this is behind like where the candy shop is on that side. Let's see, that would be the east side of the park. The west side, I'm not sure if they still redid it or not, but the east side, it is now an area for that, for crowd control.
I know it would have been 2.5 years ago when I took Zoe when she was 5 in December, because I know we were there it was on Walt's birthday on December 5th. And I remember we got exited out the side behind the Emporium, and it was not like guest friendly. It was backstage. There were dumpsters, there were trucks. It was very like impromptu. There's too many people. Let's exit out this way after the
And
fireworks.
your thought was my first thought too of, wow, I'm surprised they're letting us do this type
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
So, but Mandy, I think you and I are making like trips like a week and a half apart from each other all the time. Like the time that you were there, we were there. Let's see, that would have been 2023. We were
Yeah.
there in December, but we were there a little bit later in December, like the week or so before Christmas.
Oh, okay. Yep. And we were there, I think the 5th, like the 4th through the 9th, something like that.
Yeah, so we're missing by like 2 weeks, and then
Yeah, we are.
this upcoming January, we're gonna go back right after New Year's again.
Oh,
So
yeah. And I'll be there at the end because we leave on the Treasure on the 31st of January.
so yeah, we have to coordinate our trips at some point.
Yes.
So, but Mandy mentioned that she really likes the queue for Space Mountain. The one for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is, for me personally, I like it better. It is so interactive with little things you can do, like the little plungers for dynamite that you can hear explosions. There's so many things you can read that tie into that whole backstory that we talked about on the episode about the SEA. That, you know, if you know that sort of a little bit of the backstory and just read those letters, you'll see some familiar names, and it gives you kind of a story of things that are happening, like it is, or was at least, a real working mine.
That is fun. And when they updated it, the queue line furthest in the back. So when you're almost around that, if you're in the standby queue, you're almost around, that last little room there. And they made all that interactive, similar to like the, hands-on experience for the kids in the Haunted Mansion queue. You can touch and play all those sorts of things.
Which is also really nice that they're having stuff the kids can touch, because
Yes.
it's like, no, you're not supposed to touch that all the time. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
yes, you
don't
can
climb
go
on the
ahead and do
bars.
that.
Don't touch that. Get down. And this one, they encourage it. Like, no, touch this, play. And I'm just like, wash your hands. Make sure you wash your hands.
Yeah, hand sanitizer. Next up, heading back, we're jumping back and forth across the country with this, but we're doing it chronologically. So our next in line, that it was, like 13 years before the next roller coaster opened at a Disney park.
That's
And this
crazy.
was Gadget's Go Coaster that opened January 24th, 1993. It's a junior coaster. Height restriction is 35 inches. It only goes 20 miles an hour. Very short ride. That's only 44 seconds long.
Oh my gosh.
So
could that be the shortest ride?
And yes, I believe, well, at least the shortest roller coaster.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in Mickey's Toontown.
Okay.
And it's back there. It's pretty cool that the cars are themed to acorns. So
I was going to say it's Chip and Dale, right?
Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Mandy and I are about the same age. So growing up watching that on TV, that cartoon, that was,
oh my gosh, absolutely.
So it's a nice introductory roller coaster for kids. That the line usually is not very long. So it's something that kids can go on it. Hey, yeah, it's a roller coaster. Here you get an idea of what's going on. A couple years later, back in Magic Kingdom, that place has gone through so many different name changes, from Mickey's Starland to I think it was Mickey's Birthday Land to Mickey's Starland to
Toontown Fair.
Yeah, and now it's just part of
Storybook
Circus. But part of Fantasyland in the Storybook Circus area.
Yes.
That the Barnstormer opened October 1st, 1996.
Oof.
Themed to the Great Goofini, who's barnstorming with his plane. Again, so now that each coaster is going to have their small roller coaster. Height restriction is 35 inches, speed of 25 miles an hour, and it's only 53 seconds long. And
no, go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, share your thought. I think we're going to say the same thing.
Okay, I just want to say thank God it's only 53 seconds, because I remember when I took my son on this for the first time, he was probably, I want to say 5 or 6, if not younger. He cracked up so hard, because I remember during one of those crazy like first turns, I just was like, I was not expecting this. My Lord, that thing really throws you around.
And yeah, for being a smaller roller coaster, it's not exactly a junior roller coaster. This thing, You get some
Agreed.
G-forces on this.
Agreed. It is a little intense.
So yeah, be prepared that this is it's a somewhat intense ride.
Yeah. For especially going if you've ridden Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which I know Matt's going to bring up shortly, to go from the smoothness of that to the Barnstormer it's very night and day. So if you have a kid that may or may not like a jerky, or I wouldn't pick this as a first roller coaster. I think that's my advice for that one.
Even though it's a small one, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily a good first
Don't
one.
pick
Yeah.
that one.
Unless you really don't like roller coasters and don't want your kid to get into them. Put
Yeah,
them
true.
on here,
That
like,
would be
try
great.
this. Look how horrible these are. Let's
This
just
is
do
what
the
they're
smaller
all
rides.
like. Yeah.
And now the next one coming up is not going to last much longer. This is Rock and
Oh.
Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, but the Muppets are moving in, which
I'm okay with.
yeah, I'm intrigued to see how they do this. There's got to be
Yeah.
some electric mayhem going on with that.
Yes.
So, but this one opened on July 29th, 1999. And I remember being there in 1998 where they were building it. And I took pictures over the wall that was, the barrier
Yeah.
as they were building it. Height restrictions 48 inches, a speed of 57 miles an hour. It's only a minute 22 seconds. This one does have a single rider line, which my wife and I use all the time on this.
All the time.
Yeah, we waited in the long line once to ride it together, and then she's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And we always get we've been lucky enough to pretty much always get like one car behind each other. And
Perfect.
what we've even done sometimes is we're both single riders. We're riding with people who are, broken up from their party. And so it's like, they don't care who they're going to ride with. Do you mind switching and riding with this person behind us? And we've switched, and then we've gotten the ride together anyway.
Fancy, Matt. I like that.
Say, it's not just a hat rack I got up here, So it's themed, of course, to Aerosmith, and you get to see them in a recording session. And the interaction between the cast member and Aerosmith on the screen there was really nice. They don't always do it, though, especially during COVID. It was just sort of walk right through.
Walking through, I know.
Yeah, they cut out some of that. But the theme of it is you're taking a stretch limo to an Aerosmith concert across the LA traffic. And of course, can we get backstage passes? I think that's a great idea. Okay.
Gosh, I love Steven Tyler. I love that whole ride. That was my peak teen years,
Yeah,
Definitely
and
my favorite.
there's a bunch of Aerosmith music, which I had the list whenever we talked about the music episode, that I don't think I've heard all the songs there.
I know they have Walk This Way.
Yep.
Dude Looks Like a Lady. I feel like that's on there.
Yep.
I've ridden that ride.
An elevator. Is it Love in an Elevator?
Yep, Love in an Elevator.
I've heard that.
Good one. And then the launch with that one. That's one of my favorite parts as you're sitting, especially when you get through the queue line and then you're in the little, back alley with the chain link fence and it's all kind of sketchy. And then you see the car sitting there. And when you see that car take off, I know I've definitely seen kids tell their parents, I'm not riding this. I don't want to ride this the minute they see that car take off. Because I think you go from 0 to 60 or 57, actually, seeing the top speed in like 2.6 seconds or something crazy. It's so much fun.
Oh, yeah. It's a heck of a thrill with that. And I've filmed this. Be careful when you do this. That of course you can't see too much because it's kind of in the dark, and you see like these things whizzing by and hear screaming. Yeah, but I held my camera up, and then I hear the thing. Please put the camera down, sir. It's like,
oh geez.
So you have to be careful.
I always hold it like in my picture. You see me like this with my camera on that ride because I always film everything like a dork. But I'm like, here we go. Even though no one's gonna watch this video, and
I think Mandy and I related because we do a lot of the same things that I always record it too. But that's the thing. You have to keep the camera down low enough that they don't see it until you get that launch. And if you have one of the flip open cameras, make sure you hold your thumb on the little, viewer window that flips open, because I've been on this and I've held it. And with that launch, it flips shut.
Yes.
Yeah. You went that fast. So like, oh no.
Yeah. It's an intense, but so much fun. So much fun. It's a great ride. And I think Muppets is an appropriate take over for it. I'd heard of so many rumors of like younger new bands coming in, and I like that they're just going to do Muppets instead, because I feel like that's something multi-generational. My kids have no really idea who Aerosmith is anymore, so I respect that, but Muppets is classic. Everyone knows Muppets.
Yeah, going back to the Muppet Show whenever we were younger to they're still around. So
yeah.
But yeah, you definitely need more of that upbeat rock music that the Muppets can bring because they've been around for so long.
Right. I can see Animal having maybe a fun part in that, I hope, because I love Animal.
Yeah. Definitely. He definitely needs to be in there.
And they don't have a date for that yet. I know they say it's going to stay open through June when Pizza Rizzo and Muppet Vision 3D are closing, because they close that first week of
June 7th, June 8th. Yeah.
8th, I think.
June 7th through 8th. I forget which. I think June 8th is the last day.
Yeah. And I know they said
Sunday.
it's going to stay open at least through that part, but I don't think they have a date yet on when that's going to close down and then be reimagined.
So pour one out for Rock and Roller Coaster. But hooray for the Muppets.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's actually interesting if you're in the queue line for that, whenever you're going up the little ramp when you're still outside, if you look over that wall, and I've taken some pictures there too, you get to see this tunnel going to this nondescript kind of bluish building. That tunnel is the launch where you're going out in the roller coaster. And that building back there is the actual building where the roller coaster is.
I love that.
So it's neat how things are like hidden. It's not exactly where things are. Like the Haunted Mansion. The ride is not in the Haunted Mansion itself.
Always, when my daughter realized that, she's like, wait, what? And I'll have to pull it up on Google Maps and show her, like, no, this is the ride back here. This is just a pretty little facade that we, go into really quickly in the queue line. That's it.
And that was a great thing. I felt so smart the day that I realized that when I was young. I was like, how do they fit it all in that little house there? And then I was like, oh, okay. That's how you can do it. All right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's going with our fast coasters out in Disney California Adventure in Disneyland Resort, the Incredicoaster. Now, it was formerly California Screamin' back in when previous lifetime of the park. Opened on February 8th, 2001. Height restriction is 48 inches. Top speed of 55 miles an hour, and it's 2 minutes 36 seconds. It is now. It's one of my favorite roller coasters. That Slinky Dog Dash and the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, those I think might have surpassed, but in terms of being one of the smoothest, most enjoyable rides, Incredicoaster is amazing. So there is one loop in it.
Okay.
But there is no herky jerky stuff at all. It is very, very smooth. So if you want to introduce someone to a roller coaster, especially a loop roller coaster, this is the one to go on because it is thoroughly enjoyable. You get great views from the lift hill going up. You can see, since Disneyland and Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure, they're 100 yards apart from each other, across the little plaza. You can see into Disneyland from that lift hill. You can see all over California Adventure.
Oh, I love that.
And so I have some awesome pictures from up there, and I've taken video too. That that lift hill is great, and then you also get the 0 to 55 launch in the beginning, whenever you're first going off. So, and you go over like these humpbacks, and so you get some really good airtime on these. We're throwing out the cool roller coaster enthusiast words.
Yeah.
Get your G's in your airtime.
Exactly.
But you go over these little bumps, and so you're flying out of your seat a little bit, and then getting smushed into it when you land again. So it's really, really nice. It's one of my favorites.
That sounds like it'll be my favorite when I finally get out there and get to ride it.
So yeah, and the neat thing is, as you're going up the lift hill and some of the big hills there, they have like this half tube thing that is on the side that's facing out to the outside of the park, because it's right along the edge. And they called them, they call them like scream tubes or something. that it
Oh,
kind of enhances the screaming. That anytime you're screaming coming down the hill, the sound bounces off that and comes back into the park.
oh,
So
geez.
and now it's nice that it helps keep things quieter on the outside of the park and also enhances it on the inside. So it's a thing that works both ways. Although it's kind of weird whenever you're walking around the outside of Disneyland stuff and you're out in the park, because you can like drive down the street and you just see like this roller coaster thing with these like, I don't know if you remember, this is way back in the 80s, the thing called a burple that, like it was a little, it was like a Kool-Aid type drink. But it came in a bottle that you could squish in. It was like in an accordioned out. And so like the little
Oh,
accordion ripple things in it.
I think I know what you
I
mean.
think it was called burple. I don't know. But like a little ribbed, accordion type thing that, is like along the edge. And it's just like kind of weird to see that. Or, you're driving that street and you see, hey, look, there's Space Mountain. And it's like something you don't get in Disney World. So being
No,
a Disney World person growing up, going out to Disneyland the first time was kind of a shock. They're driving through this neighborhood. Oh, look, there's
there's
Tower of Terror.
Disneyland. I
And then,
remember
well, the first time
yeah,
there was Tower of Terror when I went there. Now it's Mission Breakout, but
yeah. So when you're on then the Incredicoaster, you like you said, you enjoy that you can see Disneyland Park, but you can also see out into like quote the real world then, correct?
well, with the lift hill, because they have the
The
screen
tube.
guards there, you can't really see
Oh, so
to
they
your
try to
right
keep
looking out,
you
so
in
you
the
can only
magic.
see the left. So that's another thing that goes into it. Now, once you're at the
Okay.
top, you can kind of see out beyond the parks, and you can see like the mountains in the distance and things like that. But yeah, it's Disneyland and Walt Disney World. We did a show on this back year ago. Stephanie joined me. We compared and contrasted the two a
Okay.
bit. That's one of the biggest things of how residential in like a neighborhood thing that Disneyland is. That it for being a Disney World person growing up, it's a shock.
I feel like I'm gonna have the exact same reaction.
That's why I highly, highly recommend staying. Well, I recommend staying at one of the Disney hotels, no matter where you're at, but
Right.
especially at Disneyland because it helps keep you in that Disney bubble.
Yes, I need to stay. That's where I feel most comfortable and I'm most happy is in my Disney bubble.
And if you want to hear all about the Disneyland hotels, our boss Donna and I talked about this last year too. We talked about all three of
Oh,
them. So
I'm gonna have to listen to that one.
of course, Mandy means listen again because of course she listened the first time too because she's a
I'm a fan.
avid fan too. She's not just a guest; she's also a fan.
Yep, a fan and a guest.
And so, very close to there, on also opening on February 8th, 2001, is Goofy Sky School, which opened as what was it? The Mulholland Madness. So, again, themed towards California stuff. And this is a true wild mouse ride. Height restriction is 42 inches, top speed of 27 miles an hour, ride time of a minute and 45 seconds. So the theme of this is a Goofy cartoon called Goofy's Glider from 1940.
Oh, jeez.
Now, the Goofy cartoons, they're so great.
Oh, my daughter loves them, so I'm very
Now,
familiar.
Donald is my favorite character, but the Goofy how-to
They're
cartoons,
great.
oh my gosh, the comedic genius.
Yes.
I have a this was maybe 20 years ago that Disney Treasures came out with a bunch of DVDs, and I got every one of the Donald Duck cartoons and every one of the Goofy cartoons on DVD.
Perfect.
So yeah, they're great, but
They
it goes
are.
through with the ride of lessons of how to take off, how to fly, how to turn, how to nosedive, and then how to land.
I
And
can
so you see
imagine.
these signs as you're going by. It's like how to turn, and then you like to make the sharp turn. How to
Right.
nosedive, and you make a quick drop down.
That one
So
sounds
this
like fun.
is, yeah, it's a rough ride. It's similar to the primeval world that was at um,
Oh,
Animal
oh.
Kingdom.
My neck hurts just talking about that ride.
Yeah, so it's another one that's kind of rough. So be prepared for that. But at least with this one, you can see where the turns are, so you can prepare yourself for that.
Mhm.
We need to interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast. So we went about an hour and a half talking about the roller coasters at Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland Resort. So we're going to split this into two parts. We'll finish up the next one next week. So, but before then, we are going to give a travel tip. And this one is fairly recent that make sure you have your driver's license is a real ID. They should have a little star on it. If you do not have that, as of this past Wednesday, you cannot fly commercially, at least, or fly domestically, at least without having some other required information and documentation. It's a little bit more of a hassle. So make sure you have your real ID or have a passport. And I always recommend traveling with your passport anyway. Even if you are just traveling domestically, bring that second form of identification just in case something happens. And something did happen to me the one time that coming through Chicago, that right after security, or as the process of going through security, I lost my driver's license. Luckily, it was on the way home and it was the last leg of my trip. So I didn't need it to travel anymore. But if you don't have that second form of identification and something happens the first time with your, happens with your driver's license or your primary form of identification, then you're going to be in trouble. So always have your backups. So if you have a destination or experience that you'd like to have us discuss on the Where Yinz Goin podcast, or if you'd like to share your favorite destination or travel tip, feel free to contact me. I'd love to hear your feedback and ideas. Mandy, how can people get a hold of you?
They can email me, mandy@dreamsbydesigntravel.com, or call or text me at 609-305-3445. I'm on Instagram and Facebook too, but that's kind of harder, I think, to say.
Mandy's going to send me the links for those. I'll put it in the show description so you can look those up and click on those if those are your social media platforms of choice. For us here, you can reach us on Facebook and X at the Where Yinz Goin podcast. Yinz is spelled Y-I-N-Z, Goin, G-O-I-N with the apostrophe, then the question mark. All this information, again, is going to be in the episode description. So if you want to contact us to book a trip or have any questions, you know how to find us. Mandy, this was fun. I need to make another trip now. And we have to coordinate trips so that we can be there at the same time.
Right, yeah.
And two, we have to coordinate a trip so that we are in Disneyland at the same time too, because I got to be there when you first experience it.
Incredicoaster. It's going to happen.
So please follow, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend, if you like what you heard, let other people know so they can enjoy it as well. I would like to extend a great note of thanks to the utility crew that's outside that's been doing some water line and sewer work across the street. Thank you for not being too loud today.
I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, they're just starting to do a little bit of, I can hear a few little things humming like they're going to get started on something. So they were quiet enough during the recording. So thank you again. You can find us on pretty much anywhere you find your favorite podcasts: Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, so let everyone know that, hey, we're around. Look for us.
Exactly.
Please, Mandy, we're going to have you back again. We have a couple other things to talk about too.
Okay.
With, upcoming cruises for you and whatever else.
Perfect. Sounds good. It's my pleasure.
So please join us next time. We're heading out that. We'll see you later. Okay.
All right.
And